Good evening all. So we have come back with a very interesting topic about how young people, especially from the age 15 to 18 years, think about life and what are their needs and what are their desires and how we can guide them to create better individuals and stronger individuals out of them based on what we know and based on what we have learned from the world. And on this topic, I shall speak. So in order for us to understand how young people think, we need to understand the human psychological needs. So the first needs of security, food, and shelter at this age would be mainly satisfied by parents. So these young people will be thinking about social structure. They will be thinking about their friends. They will be thinking about the biological changes that is happening around their bodies and how they can perceive the other gender or the other sex, and they would be thinking about how they can be self-recognized and what are their ambitions and what is the meaning of life and what is the main purpose in this on this earth. So this is the time where actually the big thoughts and big ideas and the feeling of belongings and the feeling of commitment happens within human beings because of the current school structure and of the current education structure and the current biological structures of human beings. So usually people reach adulthood by this age, whether they are boys or girls. This is the age where people move from childs to adults, and this is not in a particular area. It happens across the globe. Some people it happens faster, or some people it might take longer for them, but it usually comes within that within that time frame and within that limits. So these people, the young people, would be thinking about friends and social structure, and how they will be making their friends depends on where they live, depends on what kind of clubs they go to, depends on what kind of schools they go to, and depends on what kind of communities they belong in, and whether they find this community supportive and interesting. And in many cases, either young people find this group not interesting or they find it not supportive. So if it was not interesting, it's not supportive, we end up with the young people playing games all the time, enjoy being interested in media, movies, and so on, and being absorbed by this media and gaming instead of being focused on social interactions and focused on things that can be done outside. They can be joining a gaming club, by the way, but there are not many of those. So, so this is the period where people think about belonging, where people think about the achievement and recognition from their society. And what we need to think about is these young people will always be looking for a supportive environment and for something that is interesting for them. They would always want to show that they have reached a stage where they can overcome the rules that was set by the adults, because they are adults too. My words against your words, and so on. And in many cases, to prove that, they would end up doing out of the norm. Could be tattoos, could be just listening to loud music, any kind of rebellion action that shows that they challenge authority and they would like to do what they are interested in instead of what the parents are trying to guide them to. Or what the community is trying to guide them. And what is the community role is to try to provide the environment in terms of different interesting clubs and different interesting communities for them to grow, and different interesting social groups for them to grow and achieve their targets and achieve their goals, and to be able to be recognized for something. In our region, the focus, the most successful model in this period tend to be either you end up playing with people from the neighborhood, and they usually tend to play football. So you end up playing playing football and trying to interact with the other sex, or knowing the other sex more, getting some telephone numbers, trying to communicate with them, showing that you have some connections. Or the other side, which is about focusing on morals and manners and behavior, which can be about these Quranic clubs, which actually are more structured, and sometimes they can give you a sense of commitment or not. So this is what people do, and people from different areas try to fight each other. So some people say we are stronger, some people say we are not stronger. So this is what happens in reality. So what we need to do is actually to think about, what do we want to raise our children to be? And this is, I think, a very important community conversation, a very important educational conversation, a very important conversation on how we can prepare our kids for the future. And this period is fundamentally important for their success. It's fundamentally important for the things they believe in. It's fundamentally important for for building the meaning of life for them. So, and it's good for them to read a lot. It's good for them to have different experiences. It's good for them to have exposure to different environments, and it's good for them to have a very supportive environment during that period. If it did not happen, sometimes it leaves some kind of emotional trail. Some of them end up isolated, and I see this trend happening a lot. So they end up, their parents try to engage them in a particular club or a particular group. They are not interested in going to this group. They end up gaming most of the time, or they end up watching TV most of the time. They are not interested in neighborhood. They are not interested in they are not interested in the neighborhood. They are not interested in club. They end up maybe watching movies all the time. So it depends on what kind of groups they interact to, what this group is doing. So I think we just need to create the right environment for them to be able to flourish, and to be able to always to feel supported, and to be able to help them be recognized and achieve their either basic needs in terms of security, or their social needs, friendship, and so on. And the third one is about self-esteem and recognition. So we need also to help them, to show them that there are a lot of achievements that can be done, and if they achieved in this period, they would always remember that along their coming years, and they would always be thinking in achieving more and doing more to get the same feeling of self recognition, until they reach the stage where they want to self-actualize themselves. That has been said, that was my talk on how high school kids think and what are their challenges. So maybe it's not a comprehensive talk, but I think it's a brief talk that gave a good idea. Have a great day, and we see you soon. Salam.